My Hero Academia Vigilantes, episode 4, titled Top Runner. Now, do you see why I care so much why we had to downgrade Ingenium into the main series? Let's talk about it. Alright, guys, Brent here back for Geek Variants. Cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. This time, My Hero Academia Vigilantes, episode 4, which I think had a very interesting opening as far as the episode is concerned, because that was not kid friendly, but at the same time, it's not really so borderline that it kind of pushes it outside of it. And again, as this episode kind of progressed, I thoroughly enjoyed seeing more of why the Ida family, or Ingenium's line of prestige, so to speak, was so dang important. And while we do have an introduction to the Ida family via My Hero Academia, the original, this version is so much better in so many ways, even though I do have to say Team Ida 10, whoever is publicly funding them, stop. It looks like they're spending an excess amount of money for a lot of C or D tier list heroes and trying to prop up a dude who just runs really, really fast. And it looks like they're spending a heck of a lot of money, like a lot of money on some subpar services overall. Well, his brother is, amazing. Ingenium is just absolutely amazing in terms of intelligence, intellect, teamwork, seeing what people's uses are, how their quirks operate, how they make things handle as a cohesive unit. As far as like quirks, like you'd be like, could pick out of a top 5 list. I don't think running really, really fast and then still needing a suit to run faster is very high on the list of quirks I would have chosen. I'm just gonna put that out there because again, you literally just put ice on the ground and goodbye. Ingenium's gone. That's it. Like he has to install airbags so he can stop because he can't initially stop on sharp corners. Not really super cool quirk, but at the same time, I get it. He's a fantastic individual, and he saw exactly what was going on with Koichi, like, immediately. And he's able to see who people really are and make their little thing that they have shine. If you're able to find someone's, like, special niche and really just help them grow that niche, that is a great talent. It's a fantastic stat to have as a leader, but we can definitely see why their services were not, say, top ranked, like they weren't part of Endeavor's team or they weren't part of All Might's agency or so on and so forth. There's a reason why this individual is on what was called a third rate team. It makes sense. It just checks all the boxes for it. And obviously, the series still continues to deliver in a lot of regards. I'm still thoroughly enjoying it. I'm just nitpicking this one because the Ida family as a whole, God, do they just annoy me. Goody Two Shoes never really gets on my good side. But Ingenium, the older brother iteration that we saw in this episode today, absolutely 100% understand why people were looking up to this individual. His brother, on the other hand, I could do without. But this episode largely focused on Knuckles, surprisingly. And I know we got a lot more Crawler than we got of Knuckles, but Koichi kind of took a back burner in this one for being because Knuckles in this episode really is starting to let loose kind of who he is and just actually how sharp he can be. Because hey, I'm not gonna say he's all there because there's definitely some screws loose. But at the same time, he's someone who knows how to get the job done. He has trained in his style in the way that he knows best. He communicates in ways that he knows best. And he knows best through his fists. Through his fists, he's able to exercise what he does as his justice out to all of the villains who run around and kind of causing all kinds of problems. And we see that Ochiska is definitely a problem out there. She is not just like slightly associated with All for One, she has a direct line to All for One. Hey, Japan, in this time period, tap the phone services. I'm just saying, you could have had All for One early on, but I digress. That's a whole nother nitpick of the show. At the same time, she is directly serving under him as a counselor, and she's basically a talent scout. She's out there looking for that next big individual so that they can keep testing out how this trigger drug continues to work for everybody. Because as we've seen, it amplifies all their powers. What All for One wants to have is someone with a powerful quirk that is very hard to suppress will wise to see what happens when it's ultimately let loose. All for One loves pushing science. He's like Orochimaru from Naruto. He wants to push science to its absolute limits to just see what can happen so he can manipulate it in ways that work out beneficially for himself. And All for One has done a fantastic job of running this universe the way that he sees fit and running things from behind the scenes without having to expose himself overly too often and getting the correct results. Throughout this episode, we found that there is a couple villains that have been, given this absolute heinous drug. We see that the three pervy brothers kind of checked out as perfectly fine. Not really a lot of issues there. We see that we had the Hulk like villain that Knuckles took down about in the middle of the episode, who had insane strength where he could literally store power within himself and then expel it through his fists while appearing like a Hulk like figure. So already he had insane power and insane speed, but now he could literally amplify it and then swing at it. And somehow, because Knuckles is just that messed up in the head, loves that stuff. He is a sucker and glutton for punishment. Comes as a surprise to no one, really, right? But at the same time, Knuckles was able to realize, hey, if you're just being thrown on haymakers right there, if I just let you lead yourself right into my fist here, you're going to go down. It's going to stop you. You're going to go 1, 2, 3, ring the bell. It's over. You can count to 10 for all I care. This match was over. Knuckles was able to dust him for all intents and purposes and put him down to rest. Jam to find out, of course, he's on the drug called Trigger. And then we see a little bit about how the background of that works, as Achiska is basically out here running what I would call a dating service, if you will, where she is, being an impressionable teenage girl, and she is leading individuals on in the effects that they can find some kind of potential fit romantically, but she's using it as a fit to kind of sift through people who have quirks and use those quirks for All for One's purpose. So it's a brilliant scheme, dark and very, very much gray area, but it's intensive working scheme that has managed to be for her own benefit and for All for One's benefit, as they're getting a lot of quantitative data and thus far haven't tipped off the heroes as what's going on here, because Aizawa's basically the only one that's technically seen this at work, and he's not really super focused on it that we know of at this time. And we see that Crawler was able to kind of work on his turning skills and ultimately just how good this vigilante group is starting to come together, even though Pop Step still refuses to acknowledge that she's part of the team, even though she's there for every team meeting, she's part of every team training, so on and so forth. You kind of get the picture. She's there entirely, and she just doesn't want to have her name slandered and or associated with them legally for any number of inclinations, which, hey, I can understand, but at the same time, refusing something that you're clearly caught doing on video, not really probably the best thing here. But at the same time, this has been an enjoyable series. I'm curious to see where we go with this, because it looks like things are finally starting to ramp up, because we finally have the introduction of All for One, and we still have a lot of other reoccurring characters that keep popping on up. I've been Brent for Geek Variants. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's free and just helps you find this later on moving forward, so you can, come back and check in on other content such as this, Lazarus, To Be Hero, Andor, Skyrim playthrough on Legendary Edition, well, Legendary difficulty, I should be specific, as well as Last of Us. Tons of great content here on the channel. I'm Brent for Geek Variants. We'll see you in the next one.